Firstly, we'll shortly introduce ourselves. My name is Roelien van der Wel, and I'm a student at the Masters, and I'm writing my thesis at the moment.
My name is Olaf van Vliet. I'm a professor at the Department of Economics and at the Institute of Public Administration, and I'm the coordinator of this master program, Economics and Governance.
And my name is Philippe van Grijze. I'm an assistant professor at the Department of Economics, and I also teach one course in the master program, Economics and Governance.
All right, thank you. So let's dive straight into it. Olaf, why do you think students should choose this master's program?
Well, the reason why we developed this program a couple of years ago is that many societal problems require both an economics and a governance approach to solve these problems. Let me give an example from the course Political Economy in International Perspective, the course that I teach myself in this program. And in this course, we analyze the impact of technological change on the labor market. So think about, for instance, digitalization. Many jobs are being replaced by ICT, software, apps, but also robots. And moreover, jobs are being removed to other parts of the world because as a result of technological progress, it has never been so easy to communicate with co-workers on the other side of the world. So you can imagine that this has an impact. And moreover, this process of digitalization will be accelerated by the COVID crisis, because we are all working from home using ICT, and yeah, so it will be accelerated. And moreover, we are also all buying more and more on online platforms. Think, for instance, about Deliveroo. So for mainly low-skilled people, this means fewer jobs and lower wages. Whereas for high-skilled workers, this digitalization, technological change has a positive impact, namely more jobs and higher wages. So technological change will lead to winners and losers on the labor market. You can imagine that this is the economic impact, but that it also has a societal impact, and that policymakers would like to do something about that. The problem is that reforming labor market institutions, or for instance increasing the social protection levels, is very complicated. The policy-making process is very complicated because of the political context. Think, for instance, about the political debates in the US, especially these days in the context of the elections, and the debates on the impact of technological change, but also international trade, for instance, with China, where many workers lost their job in industries. So this is a typical example where you can see that that we combine the economic analysis of the labor market effects with insights into the policy-making process. And to analyze and to understand these dynamics, you will be trained in this program in both economic skills, economic reasoning, analytical skills, and data and data skills.
All right, thank you. Philippe, you also teach within this program. Do you agree with Olaf's assessment?
Yes, so I think what Olaf just said summarizes it perfectly, and also the example of technological change and the impact on labor market policies is really a good example of how the combination of economics and public administration is key to solve these kind of questions. And it also makes perfect sense to combine economics and governance. So if such a program had existed, if I was still a student, I would have definitely chosen this program. And to give you an idea, I'm an economist by training, and during my bachelor studies in economics, I learned a lot about economics. But I always had the feeling that somehow I didn't completely understand how the policy-making process actually works, how policy is made, what kind of institutions are responsible for policy making, how you set an issue on the agenda, etc. And this program is super cool because you actually have both the economics and the public administration part. Now, having said that, I do want to add one thing to what Olaf already mentioned, and that's that this program is not only relevant if you want to work in the public sector, if you want to solve these big societal problems. The program is also relevant if today your preferences are more geared towards the private sector.
So that also relates to your elective course that you teach, right?
Yes, that's true. So consider the conventional economics programs. Usually in these programs, you learn about supply and demand, and then the focus is on a firm and how the firm operates. Now, you also learn what the environment of a firm is, and that's the market environment. So you basically learn how a firm sets its pricing strategy to deter potential entrants. You learn how a firm develops strategies to deal with its customers, its suppliers, and other competitors in the market. But usually, in these programs, there is not so much talk about the government. So the government is also very important because governments make regulation, make legislation that directly affect companies. So what we do in my course, Managerial Economics and Politics, we basically acknowledge that the government plays an important role also for firms. And we say, just as firms develop strategies to deal with their customers, suppliers, and competitors in the market environment, they also need to deal with, they also need to develop strategies to deal with government, policymakers, and other political institutions in the non-market environment. And the interesting thing here is that recently, companies are increasingly aware of the importance of the non-market environment and the role that governments play for them. So if you look at job advertisements of big multinational companies today, they often search for non-market strategy managers. And this again shows how the market environment, which is dominated by economics, interacts a lot with the non-market environment, which is dominated usually by public administration.
All right, so we've seen how the Masters trains students for both the public and the private sector. But Olaf, do we also see this in the numbers where the alumni end up?
Yes, exactly. So if you look at this slide, you see where our graduates have found a job. So a large share of our students found a job in the public sector, for instance, at the ministry here in The Hague, especially for the Ministry of Finance is a ministry where many of our ENG students find a job. Secondly, many students find a job in the consultancy sector, which is of course the private sector, but within the consultancy sector you could also work, of course, for the public sector. And as a third part, there are also students that find a job in the financial sector, banks, but also, for instance, we have alumni who work at firms like Google. Well, secondly, if we think about this public-private dimension, within the program, students can also tailor their own program a bit. Here we see the program. So we have a couple of more general public administration courses where you will be trained in the complexities of public policy making. The largest part of the program consists of economics courses, where you will be trained in analytical skills, economic reasoning, and data analysis. And then we also have an elective where you can tailor your program a bit further. So you could either choose to further deepen your understanding of the public sector, for instance, by choosing the course Public Management or International Governance. But you could also say, well, I would like to learn more about economics, for instance, by choosing the course Managerial Economics or a course in Data Analysis. So as I said, both public and private sector are very good possible, are very well possible, and many alumni end up in both sectors, and we will hear in a few minutes more from one of our alumni, Rumaisa, who works at the Dutch Central Bank.
All right, so now we've talked a little bit about the alumni and the contents of the program. Philippe, do you have anything else to say about what makes this program special apart from those things?
Well, that's a good question, Hulien. It's already special that you combine economics and public administration. But apart from that, I can easily think of two other aspects why this program is so special. And the first one is the fact that this program is provided by two different departments. So on the one hand, for the economics courses, you have professors from the economics department of Leiden University. And that means when you have a course on data analysis and econometrics, your professor is really an expert in that field. Likewise, if you have a course on labor market policies, Olaf van Vliet is an expert on labor market policies. Now, on the other hand, for the courses on institutions and policy making and agenda setting, you have professors from the Department of Public Administration that teach you about the state of the art of new theories in public administration. So that's one, or basically the second novel element or unique element of the program. And then finally, I think that you really should not underestimate as being a student is the fact that we are located in The Hague. So basically The Hague, the political heart of the Netherlands, this is where all the political and policy decisions are made. So basically we are amongst, in the middle of all the ministries, the Dutch parliament, big international organizations, multinational companies, you name it. And why is this important? Well, this makes it very easy if you want to expand your professional network, if you want to search for internships, or even if you graduate, if you want to look for a cool job in The Hague or the environment. And obviously, this also should be mentioned, is that The Hague is simply a very cool city to live in, right? You have a lot of bars, restaurants, you have the beach. Amsterdam is close by. It's only a 2 hours drive to Brussels, where you have all the European institutions. So I think these are plenty of unique opportunities of the program that you cannot have anywhere else in any other program.
All right, thank you, Philippe. We will now talk to one of our alumni. This is Romeise, and she works for the Dutch National Bank. So we can make a quick switch, and then I'll ask you some questions as well. So you work for the Dutch Central Bank, right?
Yes.
Can you tell a little bit about who you are and the work that you do there?
Yes, well, thank you. I'm Romeise, and I finished the ENG Masters in 2019. And I work over a year now for the Dutch Central Bank. Well, I always had an interest in the financial sector, but I was also interested in the interaction between the public and the private sector. So for me, it was an easy choice when I was looking for a master's, because I like the fact that the ENG Masters combines economics, but it also has a legal approach and a political approach. And it also explained the choice for the Dutch Central Bank, since it's a public institution, but it has a focus on the Dutch and also the European financial sector. You work a lot with the private sector, so with banks and banks, insurers, and non-financial institutions. And it has also, you work a lot with with European institutes and other European national central banks. So the choice was easy.
And do you think that there are any specific skills or concepts that you learned in the masters that really help you in your job nowadays?
Yes, yeah, I definitely can say that. Well, during the masters we had to write a lot of papers and of course your thesis. And now that I work, I can really see how it's a valuable skill, since writing is an important part of the job. You write reports, you write memos for the board of the Dutch Central Bank, but it could also be just analysis of how the Dutch economy is doing or other important topics. So I think that I'm really happy that I've taken all the writing assignments seriously. And also the European institutes and how it relates to the economy. Like Philip just said, if I compare myself to my peers who just did economy, like their economy understanding is maybe a little bit better because they focused on a lot of detailed aspects. But with the ENG masters, you have a good and broad understanding of of macroeconomics and also European institutes. So you know what the role is of the European Parliament, for instance, or how the Dutch Central Bank works with all these European parties.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really recognize that as well, is that there's a lot of skills within the course that are pretty intense. But But it does also help a lot. It's tough to learn, but then they're really useful skills to learn as well.
So, Oline, how did you experience, for instance, your choice for this program? Year ago, probably.
Yeah,
right?
a year
Something
ago
like
now.
that.
Yeah. So for me, I think my choice for the program was a bit different than most other people. I did a bachelor's more focused on philosophy and political science. And I really wanted to do a master's program that would teach me more of the skills necessary to change some of the big societal challenges that we were discussing. And so I was also very interested in a lot of different topics, so migration, but also climate change and sustainability. And I thought to their core, all these issues are economic, so that's why it made a lot of sense to discuss them from an economic point of view, but then also public administration to learn the skills to deal with all these issues.
And do you like it so far?
Yeah,
Yeah?
I do like it so far. So yeah, as I said, it's been quite tough for me to do all the economics, but it's also possible. And I think, of course, also studying has been a bit different due to COVID. It's a lot harder to get to know your fellow students, sadly. But luckily, we're also doing a lot of group projects, which sort of forces you to work together with your fellow students. And because the students have such a different background, so some come more from an economics background, whereas others from a public administration or political science, we also all bring a lot of different perspectives to class, which is really nice.
Interesting. Good to hear.
Yeah.
And Kumaisa, can you tell perhaps a bit about how did you get in this program?
The master program, you mean?
No, I mean the traineeship.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, as I earlier said, at the beginning of my master's, I was looking for a job where the public and private sector were combined. So after a couple of courses where the Dutch Central Bank was mentioned, I thought, oh, maybe this could be something. So I've looked up into that, and I really liked the opportunities. It's a program where you can really develop yourself in different aspects of the key functions of the Dutch Central Bank. So it's a central bank, but it also has the supervisory function, where you act as a supervisor of Dutch financial institutes. And that was, for me, I think, the key reason where I wanted to go to the Dutch Central Bank.
But I believe it's quite competitive, right? There are only a few places that are open, right? Or
Yeah.
how does it work?
Yes, well, I think there are 8 to 10 places every year available. So it is quite a tough selection when you keep in mind that there are almost over 100, over 100 solicitants.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I think I had the good papers. I had ENG masters, so so that is, I think, something that really helped to get in, because you have a different background, because like economists are usually drawn to the Dutch Central Bank. So it's very nice if you can bring something else to the table, like governance and more of political understanding, since it's like the work is, of course, focused on the economy, but it's also good if you have understanding of the political background and how certain things are working and how it's related to each other. So I think that helped me, and it helps me right now in my work.
All right, thank you. So now we will switch to some of the questions that you guys asked online. So the first question is, how do the evaluations take place? So Olaf, maybe you can say a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So normally, without COVID, we have a quite good mix of several types of examinations. So we have normal written exams. We also have presentations. We have individual papers. We have group assignments. It's a variety of types of examination. And actually, we still are trying to do this also during this COVID period. So, of course, we have to do more online at the moment, but we still have a mix of different types of examination.
All right. And then the question is, does the master overlap much with the bachelor public administration, so EBM? I think, Romais, you also did this bachelor, right?
Yes.
So maybe you can say a little bit about it.
Well, I think for if you like the EBM master, it's a really good follow-up. It's not like completely the same, so I really had the focus is focus is the same, but the courses are a little bit different. So, in my experience, I have to think back. Or like, well, in my experience, I think the I have to. Maybe Olaf can say something because from
Yeah.
So perhaps it's good to tell that when we have started with the bachelor program EBM, and after a couple of years, our EBM students, the bachelor students, asked for a follow-up program, and that's actually the reason. That was the reason that we developed the Master ENG. So now there is not overlap. It's actually designed as a follow-up of EBM.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if you wanted to add anything or if we should move on to the next question.
Oh, I think Olaf said
Yeah,
it clearly.
said it.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
So then the next question is, what is the distribution between the contact hours and self-study? So maybe Olaf, you know a bit about this?
Yeah, so in each block you get 3 courses, and on average each course provides 4 contact hours per week. So that means that on average per block per week you have 12 contact hours in a week, which is and of course the rest means self-study, but that can also be working with fellow students in groups for papers or a research assignment and so on.
All right, so I saw another question. It's kind of gone now. It was, how difficult is the economics if you come from a political science background? And I think maybe I can say something about this because I have not studied economics before. I've only done high school economics, which is also a while ago. And it is quite tough because there's quite some economic theory. And whereas I think you would usually take a longer time to understand it, you now have to go through it pretty quickly. But it is definitely possible if you take a lot of time and effort into it, you can definitely do it. So I think that kind of answers that question well.
Yeah, so the program is designed that you can do the program without a bachelor program in economics. And at the same time, it's also designed that if you have done ABM, EBM, or a bachelor program in economics, that the master program is still challenging and interesting. So we try to tailor both. We try to address both of the groups, and as far as we can say, I think that until now both groups would agree with this. That's the way we are doing it, and that we are quite successful, if I may say so, in doing that.
All right, so the next question is, how international is the student body of the Masters? I think for my year, it's probably 50-50, I think, around, so 50% Dutch students or people who've done a bachelor in the Netherlands, but there's also plenty of students who come from abroad. Who might say, how was it in your year? Do you remember?
I think I don't know the exact numbers, but in my experience, there were a lot more international students than Dutch students. And I really like that because my bachelor's was Dutch, so the conference was very big. But I like the fact that you had students all over the world, like United States, Greece, Brazil. So it was very mixed, and you could, there are a lot of these people were for the first year in the Netherlands, so you could really show these people nice places, and really represent the Netherlands and also Amsterdam, because that's where I'm from. So I like to take everyone to Amsterdam. But I was sure that the students from The Hague also showed all the good bars and restaurants after studying to these students.
Yeah. All right. Ozum, he asks if we would suggest this program to someone who is interested in entrepreneurship, so more the business side. Olaf, do you have something to say?
Well, we have this excellent course in managerial economics that you just heard about by Philippe van Guyzen. And at the same time, it would be fair to say, I think that many courses are more on public economics, labor economics, and political economy than on entrepreneurship. So if you are really looking for a master's program in entrepreneurship, then it would probably be a good idea to look for a program in entrepreneurship or business administration.
All right. So the next question is, do you expect that the program will be available online after February? Well, so now everything is possible to do online, and then we have one course in person, but you could also access that through a live stream. So currently everything can be done online. I don't know, Olaf, if we already have any ideas about what it's going to look like after February.
No, we don't have that. Of course, we are preparing everything for the scenario that we will have to do that we will continue. That we have to continue the way we are doing it at the moment, right? So that we have we call it hybrid situation. There we have some courses on campus and some courses online. Of course, hopefully in February we will be able to even do more on campus. But I'm an economist. I'm not. I don't have a background in microbiology or so. So I really don't know. But we are prepared for an online environment, and hopefully we can do more on campus in the future.
Okay. I see. Another question is if there is the possibility to do any internships during the program, or during the thesis, they say. So I think the program itself is designed for a full year, full of courses. But I also know some people who are doing an internship next to it, so you kind of have to organize that yourself. I don't know if there's any specific rules for how that works.
No, we don't have specific rules. I could highly recommend doing an internship because it is a lot of fun, and you can see something of how the real organizations work. And at the same time, we don't provide credits for that. But that doesn't matter, of course, right? Many of our ENG students still choose for the option of doing an internship. And that means in practice that they will extend their program with a couple of months. So you don't have to do that, but if you wish, you can do that.
All right. So I think that's the question so far. I don't know if any new ones came up. So I see how many people apply each year, and then also how many students do the track finally. Do you have any numbers?
Yeah. So, as you know, we have 2 moments in the year that you can start with this program, namely in September and in February. And for the past 5 years, we have an inflow in September between 65 and 70 students. And in February, it is around 30 students. So, in total, 100 students per year.
Okay. And then the question, what is the difference between an ENG master's and a master's in political economy, which might also be nice to ask Olaf because he actually teaches the course political economy within the master's.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is that there are many different varieties or perspectives on what is political economy. So, in our opinion, political economy is a combination of economics and, on the other hand, political science or public administration. So that is what we do, and in that sense, you could say that it would be highly comparable. But there are also many other perspectives on political economy. For instance, within philosophy, there is a whole strand on political economy, or broader within the humanities. For instance, from the history department, there are also programs in political economy, and that is really something different. So that is more on the work by Marx and so on. And then there are also other programs in political economy, for instance, provided by social policy departments, sociology department, political science departments. And then the difference would be that from an economics perspective, what we are doing, it would perhaps be a bit more analytical. So we believe that in the current job market, hard skills, quantitative skills are becoming more and more important. Even if you do not plan to become a data analyst yourself, which actually is the case for a large group of our students, we still believe that it might be good to be trained in those skills, because you will be able to understand all kind of analysis and tables and figures much better if you have got this training during your program. And that is an important difference with other programs where political economy is provided from a background of, for instance, humanities, history, philosophy, and so on.
All right. The next question, is there a study abroad option within the course?
Well, that's actually the same answer as we can give on the question about the internship. So it is not an official part of the program, but many of our students are doing that. And that would mean that perhaps it's good to tell this. So our academic year consists of 4 blocks of 8 weeks. That means that the rest of the year you have some weeks without without classes. And of course, you could use those weeks to do an internship or to go or to follow some courses abroad. Many of our students do that. They actually choose for this option, but it is not an official part of the program.
Yes. Next question, can I start a program in February?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, that's also, I actually did that, so that's why I'm now writing my thesis. So after my bachelor's, I did the pre-master program, which was a few months, and then you start in February, and you still start with a batch of students, so it's not like you're the only one. You still have sort of a community of students that you start with at the same time, and you just do what we showed earlier with the courses. You do that reversed, so you start with the second half of the year, and then you do the first half of the year afterwards. And then I see the last question, is it difficult to be accepted? I guess that really depends on who you are and what you're interested in. You can write your application letter in which you can really explain why you would like to be accepted to the program. And if you have any other questions about this, you can go to the admission and acceptance page on the ENG website, and there you can also find all the requirements that are needed to get accepted into the program. I think if there's no more questions, we can round up. So thank you all very much for watching. If you have any other questions, we are still online within the master's program, and you can ask us any other questions you might have later today until 5:30, I think. All right, thank you all very much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you here in February or in September.
Thank you. Bye-bye.